I am calling this meeting to order at 5:30. First, a reminder that meetings of the Select Board are meetings conducted in public. They are not meetings of the public. Nonetheless, members of the public shall be afforded reasonable opportunities to express opinions about matters conducted by the Select Board so long as order is maintained. The rules for public comment are, at the conclusion of a Select Board discussion on an agenda item, but before any action is taken, there may be 10 minutes afforded to public comment. Comments made by the public must be addressed to the chair or to the Select Board as a whole, and not to any individual members of the Select Board or members of the public. Members of the public must be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. If a member of the public has already spoken on a topic, they shall not be recognized again until others have first been given the opportunity to comment. Order and decorum shall be maintained throughout the meeting. Personal, impertinent, threatening, or profane remarks will not be tolerated. For those who are participating via Zoom, please note that chat is not an appropriate avenue for public comment. All public comments must be made verbally when acknowledged by the chair. Please silence all cell phones, and a reminder to all that this meeting is being recorded and may appear on the internet. Okay, so are there any adjustments to the agenda?
No.
No.
Nope, okay, good. Makes it a lot easier. Can I hear a motion to approve the minutes of March 22nd, 2023 and March 24th, 2023?
So moved.
May I have a second?
A second.
Okay, Charlie, you were definitely not at one of those. I think you weren't at either one.
No,
So
he wasn't.
you should abstain from the vote. But everybody else, anything you'd like to change, add, delete?
I didn't. Where does it talk about the ARPA committee? That's the one.
That should be an appointment, no.
That would have been on the
ARPA committee
22nd.
updates, or during the,
ARPA committee update.
This one here, the D.
oh. Actually, okay, there was that, and then there was,
It's on the second page, item
Yeah.
7B,
Is the committee,
update.
no, but then we had,
and then D is another,
Reappointment committee.
oh, report, yeah, that's,
okay, I think we need to adjust, make an adjustment to the 7B, because the committee actually made 3 recommendations, and I think all
Yes.
3 of them need to be in there.
All right.
okay.
Which were consultant be brought in, that the money be invested, and that the select board continue to engage the public in conversations about spending of the ARPA funds.
Okay. All right,
Okay?
yep.
Community.
Does anybody else have any other changes? Any changes to the March 24th? I thought they were short and to the point.
It was a short meeting.
I like that.
Oh, I do have a recommendation to change there too.
Yeah,
Under 3, where it says select board address potential conflict of interest, after much discussion, it was found that there was no current conflict of interest.
okay.
Hang on a minute. Where are you on
March
number?
I'm on
24th minutes.
For the 22nd and the 24th?
24th,
Sorry.
the special meeting.
Yep.
After much discussion, it was found that there was no current conflict of interest. Just add the word current.
3A.
I don't even have a 3 on mine.
No, on the 24th,
This
the,
one.
the special meeting, the short one.
Oh, that one. You're looking at the agenda.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Looking at the minutes.
I'm looking at your letter.
Oh,
That was, I'm like going, it only goes to 2. All right, so 3A
Yeah,
It was found that there was no conflict of interest.
current conflict of interest.
Current
Current.
conflict of interest.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other changes to either of those? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Why can't you do that?
You abstain.
You abstain.
Um,
Thank you.
okay. So moving on to public comments on items not on the agenda. Are there public comments in the room? Are there public comments online? On items not on the agenda? Does the select board have anything to say? All right, moving right along. Warrants to the treasurer. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve and execute the warrants to the treasurer upon completion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve and execute the warrants upon completion of review. Karen?
Okay. Before I start, in your packets, everything is one-sided
Yes.
because we have a problem with our copier right now, and we can't double side.
Okay,
So, sorry for the waste of paper.
it's okay. More paper airplanes later.
All right, so check warrant for payroll dated April 7th, 2023 in the amount of $20,055.94. There's nothing like unusual about this one.
Okay.
Okay.
No questions? And then I have accounts payable warrant dated March 25th through April 7th, 2023 in the amount of $141,714.43. So KRT Appraisal LLC, they're doing the townwide reappraisal.
Okay.
Their first invoice, $17,884.
I assume that means they've started?
Yes.
Okay.
So they basically have imported the data.
Oh.
So that was like one of the biggest tasks.
Yeah. Okay.
And let's see, we have US Bank, $45,073.63. So that would be the fire station and some interest payments.
Now, when you say the fire station, what does that mean? What,
So we still have a loan on the building.
okay.
It's going to be paid off in like 4 years
Okay. And how often are we paying
annually.
that? Okay.
It's an annual payment. Some of our bond payments are, the interest can be twice a year instead of one payment.
Okay. There's a whole bunch of taxpayers on here.
Those are all overpayments.
Okay.
So they are credits that we pay back to the folks. So, at least one was a closing,
Oh, okay.
so at the closing,
Yeah, things happen.
they didn't have it prorated or whatever. They both paid, so,
Oh,
yeah, they both paid, so one person got, the credit back.
all right. Does anybody else have questions?
Southwestern New Hampshire District.
That would be the mutual aid, and it's a small one though, right?
Yep, 1364.
Yeah, let me just, because we just paid the annual. Sometimes they're in order, Eric, and sometimes they're not. It depends how they're put into the system. There it is. Oh, so the pager was not charging, the pager didn't have a belt clip on it when it came in. Belt clip was put on it and in the charger, and it seemed to charge perfectly fine. So, that was $62 for that one. I think there was a couple, hang on a minute, because there was one more.
You said Southwestern New Hampshire District?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have 1364.50 here is the total.
Yep.
Okay.
So the second invoice are for chargers, 2 chargers, and then 3 monitors or pagers, right? So 3 at $383. It's a Minter 6 VHF, 1 frequency.
Okay.
So that would be a pager.
Yeah.
Okay.
Need
Alrighty.
those.
Yeah, so, but, 3 at $383, so
Okay.
that's the majority of that invoice.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, more warrants. Town manager's report.
So I attended the Main Street Now conference in Boston on March 29th, and it was just like simply amazing.
Cool.
Fantastic. Next time they have it, I'm gonna do the whole 3 days, but I learned quite a bit. Building success for the master plan, collaborative successes for main streets and municipalities, building with, not for our communities, activating empty lots, lots from vacant to vibrant, how to do pop-ups. So I went down with Lisa Papazian and Jessica Green, and then Cora Skeel
Okay.
came down as well all on Wednesday. And we all did different sessions. There were 1,900 people at this conference. It was just amazing. And there was a whole group of Vermont people. It was just yeah. So it was great. I wish I could have just stayed the whole 3 days, and I would have got a lot more to bring back. But there's a lot of good things happening right now, and networking and utilizing resources is what we need to do. So on a bad note, the initial notices for tax sale went out. So there's $94,291.75.
How many properties?
Yes. Those are, I don't know how many properties. I think it's about 8. So I'm hoping some of these are gonna fall off the list.
Sure. They often do, right?
As they call me. The program for Vermont Housing Assistance Program is still open with funding, so if people are struggling, they can actually fill out the application and they may meet the criteria, and that will get them off the tax sale list. We also have a total delinquent in arrears, $229,671.98. I sent out a lot of notices on Monday to remind people that the VHAP program is available and they can come see me and we can do a payment arrangement agreement. So I will keep pushing to try to bring in more revenue. So there's a response from VTrans regarding the parking on the corner of Christian Square and Route 5.
Yeah.
I put a copy of the letter right there for you, Eileen, if others want a copy of it. Basically, the letter states, thank you very much. They have different departments with VTrans, so this is like a traffic impact department that needs to look at and do a study. and they won't meet until, I think it was May 23rd.
Yeah, 1 PM.
Yes. So, once they meet and they talk about it, and then hopefully we'll see if they recommend anything or do anything. But
Okay.
it's a start.
So it sounds like they're going to do a engineering study before May 23rd to recommend to their committee at that point, is how I read this letter.
Okay.
Who does the painting once the decisions are made? Is the state that does it, VTrans?
Well, no, because our highway department paints these hash marks out here on Route 5.
So we're just waiting for the state to tell us that it's okay to do that?
Right. Right, because it's a state road.
Right, so they make the decision, but we execute the work.
Yeah, which I don't quite understand, but I'm not gonna fight that battle.
No, but it's just good to know. Actually,
Yeah.
it seems more likely that we'll get it done that way.
Right.
Right.
And our crew too, like, sometimes there'll be a sweeper that will clear all the dirt, and then right after we do the paint. But our guys have been out front with brooms, sweeping the dirt and then painting. But, and who knows, it might be something that they've always done in the past. I just don't ask questions. But, and I'm wondering too, is if we add more hash marks on Route 5, if it'll be more work for our highway department. So, something I'll have to watch out for.
Okay.
No response on the Rotary though, okay?
Okay. That might be a little bit more
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah. So I will be moving ahead with a request for proposal for the fire department operations analysis. I will present the RFP to the select board at the next meeting.
Okay.
So I've talked to the chief about it, and he's going to assist me in writing the RFP, and I do have a sample.
Okay.
So basically, the operations analysis will take a look at the fire department, look at staffing, recruiting, a capital improvement plan for equipment for the building, and kind of go through things and see, they'll make recommendations on moving forward. And right now, a lot of towns are having a big problem with recruiting. There is talk about regionalizing departments too. So before we get to that point, I'd like to have this analysis done of ours. And then hopefully we have options and we can take a look at it.
Okay.
But I will bring the RFP to this board before it goes out.
Okay.
And I do want to see, I'm hoping that we're gonna see a consultant work with us, you know, within like 4 months.
Okay.
I will be coming to the board too, because the money that I'm gonna request is in a reserve fund.
Okay.
So this is why I'm bringing it to your attention now.
Okay.
What type of people do that?
I was gonna ask that same
I don't
question.
mean type of people, but what
They're specialized
who
in
are
that.
they? Yeah.
So Brattleboro had one done by AP Triton, and they
Right.
looked at rescue. Okay, but they did evaluate the entire department and the other department as well. They looked at staffing, they looked at, you know, their equipment, revenue sources, you know, what they're actually doing, you know.
So are these regional or national? I'm just.
No, this is a national company, so, but they're on the East Coast, they're all over the US. And Williston, Vermont also did a operations analysis on their department. They're full-time, we're a little bit smaller, so it'll be interesting to see the report, if we move forward, But, I think it's a good way to evaluate.
Just another one of those things that falls into the jobs you never thought about category.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's interesting that there's people, whole companies out there that do that.
If you need it, somebody
Yes.
probably does it.
I know.
Right.
Right.
You know, they look at call volume too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and, you know, the size of the town and,
Mhm.
you know, what would work, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, training is another thing they look at too. They're gonna take a, you know, a hard look, a
Mhm.
deep dive. And as long as we're providing all the information for them to evaluate, then
Yeah.
they can make recommendations,
Okay.
so.
We have a question or a comment online, Heather?
Yeah, good evening. I was just wondering if this was strictly statistical or if this is going to be deeper than that.
It's gonna be deeper. I'll be working with Tom and the consultant. So, we'll have to provide a lot of data. And they'll be here physically on site, looking at everything as well,
Okay.
so.
Heather, can I
Yeah.
ask a question?
Go ahead.
Do you mean, is it like qualitative? Will they be interviewing people to find out, you know, perceptions or is that what you mean?
I'm just kind of looking to see if it's a statistical audit or if it's an audit of the entire operation, from manpower to how things are run, standard operating procedure, looking at personnel jackets, things like that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Does that answer your question? Heather?
I think it does. I think the rest, I guess, remains to be seen.
Well, and when we see the RFP,
Right.
we'll have more information at that point.
Yeah.
What we're looking for and, what kind of information we're seeking. Okay, Mr. Fairman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I should mention that there is a missing piece here, and that is that Vermont statute mandates regional organization of EMS. And in fact, each region must have a board, and in fact, we do have one, which chose to sit out the question of rescue withdrawing from, Brattleboro withdrawing from rescue, which I suspect was not quite what they were intended to do. So before you start thinking about getting consultants to look into it, it might be a good idea for us to ask our regional board what they're doing about this matter, because that's actually what they've been appointed to do. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Moving on?
Moving on?
Yeah, so, pontoon boat, I requested fire department to get it ready to put back out to bid.
Okay.
It's in the barn.
Try to do it in the
so-
right time, this time frame this
I don't know
time?
if there's a right time now or not, but we're
Well,
just
fall
gonna
is
do it.
probably not the right time.
Yeah, no, that definitely was not the right time, but anyway, so I'm gonna push to, get that back out to bid. Highway department is out grading roads. Brian and I have been talking about, the paving grant, and it looks like, River Road from Route 5 past the town garage will get done
Okay.
with the $200,000 paving grant. So, so they're out there grading.
All
We're
right.
supposed to get some rain, so I guess the rain brings out the mud and
Mhm.
dries up the roads quicker, so, I think everything's pretty good. Let's see, RFPs are out for mowing, trimming, and cleanup services for town public properties and the town cemeteries. They will be due on April 27th, and then I'll have the select board by recommendation award on May 3rd.
Okay.
So,
And we do those pretty much every year. Is that a yearly contract we
this
do?
is gonna
or-
be a 2-year contract again, so
Okay.
I don't They used to be
Maybe I just feel
three.
like I've done it.
Yeah, they used
every
to be
year.
3, and 1 year is just not enough time, it's a lot of work, and then, it's like, so,
Okay.
but, so it'll be 2-year contracts. Also for auditing services, the 3-year contract is up, so I had to put an RFP out for auditing services. Again, they're due April 27th, and I'll have a recommendation for award on 5/3. I did send out about 7 letters, and all of these requests for proposals are in the Commons as well.
Okay.
So, and I did put the auditing services on the VLCT website, because sometimes you get more competition that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
we'll see about that. The listers, they've collected data. So basically in the spring, they go out to all the properties that had zoning permits to do a reassessment and to see how far they are with new construction, whether it's finished or not. They've collected all their data, and they're gonna verify the data in May, and then by the end, they're gonna file the abstract and send out notices of change. So people have like 2 weeks to grieve their new assessment if they want. And then soon after that, the grand list will be lodged.
Okay.
So I will have them speak to the board too once the appraiser starts doing the town-wide
Yeah, it'll be good to know
appraisal.
where they are. Yeah.
Yeah, just so people, we definitely need to get notification out to the town too. So Jordy talked to me a little bit about that today, but we'll have a plan
Okay.
to bring to the board so the community knows what's going on and they don't have strangers in there. Yard.
So I don't know if you got notification, but the Lister World got notification that they are postponing the rollout of VT for another year.
Yep, Jordy told me that
for
today, which
numerous-
is good.
Numerous different reasons.
It's good.
Mostly
I'm happy.
related to the fact that it was a very ambitious project, and
Right.
I wasn't surprised.
Is that going to the state
It's
level?
going to this, yeah, in
Yeah.
place of using NIMRIC as our grand list software.
Yeah.
So we're all lodging in NIMRIC again this year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so we'll be able to do the tax bills here and set the tax rates here.
yeah.
But I think next year that won't be the case.
Well, they'll be in the cloud, but it'll be a
Right.
different system,
So NIMRIC has cloud too. I didn't realize that until.
sort of.
Certain
We can
modules.
talk about it offline, but it's only,
Yeah.
it's not really in the cloud, but we
Yeah.
can talk about that
All
offline.
right. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to go to high tech. I can, manage what I
Can
got
I just
now.
ask a clarifying question? Are you just talking about where the data is stored, or are we talking about going to the statewide
Okay,
system
so
of reappraisal?
That's a different issue.
Oh, I thought, okay, that's what I
That's
thought
a
we were-
totally different issue. Yes,
Right.
there's a bill out there, H480, that has caught the Lister world by storm as well, which proposes to take over. Part of it is to mandate that we reappraise more often than we have been, because currently there's only 2 triggers. One's on the COD, the other one's on the CLA. And they're proposing that we mandate that all towns reappraise like between 5 and 6 years, or 6 and 10 years, or something to that, whatever the number comes out. The other part of the proposal is that the state actually take over the reappraisal process, which,
Right.
depending on who you are, may cause some angst. But that bill is right now in the Senate Government Operations Committee.
Okay.
But the other issue is that the state is going to a new grand list software. It's cloud-based.
Okay.
It replaces the software we're currently using, which is, we all call NIMRIC, New England Municipal Resource Consultants, or something to that effect. And it's a Fox Pro program that was written, I don't know, in 1800 AD or something, I don't know.
About
That is to say,
yeah.
it's a little antiquated.
Yeah. a little.
And so it's gonna streamline a whole bunch of different processes with current use and homesteads and, basically standardizing the information. It's just that it's not ready yet. So they're pushing it off a year. Sorry to hijack that conversation.
That's okay. You're good.
I'm done.
All right. So I will be in a leadership class tomorrow in Townsend, so I won't be in the office. But I'll be back on Friday. So
Okay.
that's all I have.
I just wanted to share, I didn't want to interrupt, I just wanted to share about the Main Street Conference that
Yeah.
two of the people that attended, Lisa and Cor, reported out last night to the Revitalization Task Force, and they were, like you, very enthusiastic. Also, and there were lots of great ideas also, but the woman from Seveds was there, Meg was there,
Mott,
so
yeah.
enthusiastic, particularly about the data part of it,
Right.
and very supportive for the inventory committee and what we were trying to do.
Right.
And important, and really stress the need for us to get online, look at what Main Street America has available. We've already done that and making proposals for stuff we can use from there.
Yeah.
And she was, couldn't have been more generous with her time and offering to help in any way that she could. So that
Right.
was really a great, people were really excited about that. And
Yeah.
everyone was like, oh, why couldn't I go?
Right.
So, yeah.
I just want to add too, so Meg Mott is with Brattleboro,
No, like,
No,
no,
Meg
Meg-
Scallop,
not Meg Mott, sorry.
Scallop or something?
What is, no, it's not,
Sackcloth?
no. I know, I was like,
I was gonna say street,
Yeah.
but it isn't.
No,
or
it's
either.
Sackcloth or,
yeah. Well, anyways,
Same.
Meg is with Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, so it's,
Yeah.
and, every year in the budget, we have an appropriation for them, and this is the reason why we need that network, that connection with them.
Okay.
yeah, and they helped fund some of the
Right.
people that
Right.
went. And now there's another conference that they're hosting in Wilmington in May,
Right,
which
Yeah.
useful.
yeah.
Mm. The other unrelated thing I wanted to mention when you were talking about the area like Christian Square that we found,
Right.
I don't know exactly what you were talking about, but it was about
It's right on the corner.
marking
Christ-
the area
Christian
because
Square.
it's so dangerous coming out of that road.
That's
Yeah.
why.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what they're gonna look at.
awful,
Yeah, VTrans.
particularly on Saturdays.
Yeah, it's really hard.
You can't see anything.
No, no.
Okay, great.
So I'm done talking.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment on the town manager's report online? Any public comment in the room? Any other select board comments, questions? Okay. Moving on to boards, committee, and commissions. The first thing is the resignation of Rescue Town Representative Rory Dubs. We got, Karen got a email from Rory. It states, I thought I already sent that, oh, that doesn't, I must have entered something wrong, whatever. Due to a new job, due to a new role I decided to pursue, I had to step down from the Board of Trustees at Rescue Inc. If you have any specific questions about being on the board, I'd be happy to answer them, Rory. So,
So, yeah, he basically has a conflict of interest at this time.
he's gone to a different role at Rescue, is that the reason?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So, thanks to Rory for serving in that position. Is there any comments? Other comments online?
Just thank you to Roy.
Okay, so then moving on, segueing to the Rescue Town Representative interested candidate, Jeannette White, who is here. Hi. Sent in a letter which says, Dear Select Board members, as you might know, one of the areas under my jurisdiction of the Senate committee that I chaired, Senate Government Operations, was EMS statewide. It is a system that is under a lot of pressure and basically is unsustainable as it is currently administered. I will not go into the details, but it will just say that if we do not make changes, both small and large, we are in danger of losing this system. The Senate Government Operations Committee made a number of changes, both statutory and administrative, that have resulted in positive changes to the system, but much more needs to be done. In this arena, rescue is seen by many as a model for the state, and we should be proud of that. Because I have been so involved in the topic, when I learned that Putney was in need of a representative to the rescue board, I decided I would put my name forward for your consideration. I would like to work with the rescue board to help make sure it is sustainable in our area while continuing my work on the statewide system to hopefully help make the whole system more sustainable. I would be happy to represent Putney on the rescue board if you are so inclined. Thank you for your consideration, Jeanette White. Can I have a motion to recommend? You want to talk first?
I just was going to say that I realized that you just got the resignation tonight, so I don't know if that means that other people might be interested in doing it, so I'm happy if you want to wait and see if other people might be interested also. I knew that he was going to resign. So.
Okay. First of all, when is their next meeting? Do we know?
I'm not sure when their next meeting is,
Okay.
but I can go to their meeting anyway, even if I'm not on board.
I'm not sure you can, actually. We had this conversation last year. I met him, actually.
Yeah.
It's a private
Well, it is,
organization,
yeah,
so
but
I don't believe their
I'd be
meetings. If you're invited, then you can go, yes. So what's the feeling of the board? Do we want to wait further?
I didn't think we had a whole lot of people knocking down the door.
Or
I actually had the same idea. Like, I'm not comfortable, you know, finding out about it at one minute and then appointing somebody the next minute. I think it makes sense to let it sit for a month or 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and at the next meeting bring it back if there's no pressing need.
Karen?
I'd like to make a comment. So it is critical the board get a procedure, because if now we have a resignation, but we have somebody that wants to fill that position, and now we're going to make them wait. So we need a clear procedure, because this.
Yes. Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
I actually, beyond staring at a piece of paper, actually wrote things on the piece of paper, and I did send it to you.
You did.
So we're working on a procedure, and I think, that's something that I hadn't thought about in the procedure.
Yeah,
it just hadn't occurred to me.
Yeah.
But now it occurs to me that we should put that in the procedure as well.
How to advertise, maybe.
Or just what we want our policy to be around that. And I don't know. I don't know yet, but this just brought up something new I hadn't thought about before.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this is a discussion
We'll
have in a work session.
In the work session that we're going to schedule at the end of this meeting.
That is correct.
Okay, so Mr. Fairman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as context to this, I checked the Rescue Inc. website today. They have, by the way, while some people think these are town representatives, the IRS, with which Rescue Inc. is registered as a 501c public charity, sees these people as trustees. Now, of the 24 trustees that they are authorized to have, 13 seats currently are vacant, including 6 town representatives, 4 at-large representatives, and all 3 of the representatives of Rescue Inc. volunteers. So I entirely agree with you that it probably is fair to postpone naming our new representative until others have become aware and if they wish to put their candidacies forward. But there is a problem here with Rescue Inc. People do not want to be trustees of Rescue Inc. And when this comes up at your next meeting, I'm going to say regarding Senator White, seize the opportunity because she is superbly qualified for this job. And I want to mention that we've already experienced that you nominated a trustee and Rescue Inc. said, we're not going to seat this person. Now, I would suggest that if superbly qualified Senator White is nominated and they decline to seat her, that we insist because I think that the IRS would be very interested to find out that an organization dependent on public funds is refusing select board's nominees to look after these public funds because they want to cherry pick who these people are. There's something wrong there, and I would suggest that whatever happens, that we insist that whoever we name be seated, period. Because otherwise, I think we're going to have to initiate a procedure to have the IRS look into what on earth is actually going on here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to table your appointment for 2 weeks, and I guess that's a shout out to the public if you want to be considered as a trustee representing the town of Putney for Rescue Inc. Please put your name in the hat, and all of the other boards and committees and commissions that we have as well. All right, so thank
Jeannette.
Yes, Jeannette,
Can I just make a comment about the trustee versus the representative?
if you want to, but
So-
we don't need to rehash this.
No,
We
no,
already
I
went
just,
through it last year.
oh, I didn't know you'd already had.
Yeah, we had
discussion.
several
It's
conversations.
fairly similar to the Senate. In the Senate you represent, in the House you represent your town, period. In the Senate you represent your county, but you're responsible for the state. You're not, it isn't a parochial representation, as it would be not on the rescue board. You're representing Putney, but your responsibility is the whole area. Yeah. Just,
Okay.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't know. You had
Yeah,
this
and now
conversation.
Mr. Fairman.
Okay.
Mr. Fairman?
Madam Chair, I wanted to say that I agree with Senator White that it's simply a question of terminology. That yes, indeed, trustees of a 501c3 public charity are responsible for the affairs of the charity. But my point was simply, these people whom Rescue likes to call representatives are legally not representatives. They are legally trustees. That's my point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion among the board? Is there any comments online? Any comments in the room? All right. So, moving on to the appointment to Cemetery Commission, Greg Wilson.
So can I just make a quick
Yes.
summary? So cemetery commissioners are elected
Right.
and we're down one. So
So we didn't have anybody step
No.
up, and we didn't have enough write-ins.
we didn't have enough, no,
Okay.
write-ins. And John Johnson's online and he can speak.
Okay.
He's also on the cemetery commission.
John Johnson is.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
John, do you want to speak to this?
John?
John? There.
I'm here.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
Was letting the dog out. Eileen, I'm still laughing at your Limerick joke. I always say that you start Limerick with a C prompt. So, as you may recall in years past, the Department of Liquor Control would send paper.
No,
not yet.
Wait,
John,
John.
cemetery commissioner.
Oh, cemetery commissioner.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to liquor yet. That's later at happy hour. Yeah, so cemetery commissioner, do you have anything to?
Oh, yes. Greg Wilson has volunteered to be reappointed for a 1-year term. He's served for many terms, but is trying to wind things down.
Okay.
I heartily recommend Greg be reappointed. Greg and I went out with weed whackers and did a lot of the small cemeteries. He's totally committed to the work. He spent his own money restoring Allen Cemetery. He's just a good guy, and if he's willing to serve, we need him.
Okay. Any discussion on the board?
Only that I want to understand. I know I'm always like, I just need to understand. So he would have been elected, this is an elected position.
It's an elected
Yes.
position.
But because we don't have someone now, the select board is responsible for appointing someone.
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay.
So this
Correct.
person,
Greg chose not to run for another 3-year term.
Right, and now he's,
So the office was not filled at town meeting.
right, and so now you twisted his arm.
We need 3 cemetery commissioners, and Greg agreed to serve for 1 year.
so, and because he's appointed, he'd have to be reelected at the next
Correct.
March anyway, so,
At next town meeting,
Okay.
we will need to elect a cemetery commissioner for a 2-year remaining term.
okay,
got
so
it.
that's a shout out to the public that if you want to be on the
Right.
cemetery commission, put your name in the hat in January when the petitions come out.
Right.
All right, I don't believe we've put a motion on the table yet.
Make a motion to appoint Greg Wilson as for 1 year cemetery commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Greg Wilson for the 1-year cemetery commission position. Is there other discussion on the board? Is there comments in the room? Any other further comments online? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Greg, for agreeing to serve for another year. We'll try to get some other people interested. All right, so moving on to select board items, new business. We have the liquor licenses, and now, John, you can talk about liquor licenses.
This is why I'm here. You may recall that in prior years, in roughly the beginning of February, my office would send out renewal applications to our 6 permit holders. The Department of Liquor and Lottery has moved to an online licensing platform, which is having growing pains.
I've heard that from other town clerks, you're not the only one.
So we have 6 permit holders in Putney. I have sent snail mail to each of them. I have talked to every one of them, and on tonight's agenda, we have 3 applications, all renewals. Specifically, Next Stage Arts Project, Putney Mountain Winery, and the Putney Food Co-op. The Next Stage and Putney Mountain Winery have 3 licenses each. They have a first class, which is a full bar. They have a third class, which is retail sale or a sale of beer and wine. And then they each have an outdoor consumption permit with a defined area that the Department of Liquor Control knows about. The Putney Food Co-op has a beer and wine retail license. I checked today. All 3 permit holders are current in their water and sewer. We've received no complaints. These are all renewals, and my recommendation as town clerk is to renew each of these licenses. And in 2 weeks, we'll deal with hopefully the other 3, which would be the Gleanery, the General Store, and the Mockingbird. I was hoping that we would do all of these tonight, but we only have the 3.
Okay. Somebody want to put a motion?
You have motions over there if you want to do them as a slate, or if you want to do them individually.
Oh, okay. All right, can I hear a motion that we approve the liquor license renewals for the Putney Co-op, Next Stage Arts Project, and Putney Mountain Winery?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the liquor license renewals for the Putney Co-op, Next Stage Arts Project, and Putney Mountain Winery. Is there further discussion among the board? Is there any comments online? Any comment in the room? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Next up is the library proposed landscape plan. That's you, Janice.
So
With a big piece of paper.
All
right.
You've got another one. So this is the draft plan that I want to talk about tonight. You can see. So because we took down the 2 big trees, the controversial down maple trees that were over 100 years old.
Can you do that?
Yeah, you can get it. If I was clever enough, I could share the screen.
let me know when you
All
have it.
right, so, we took the trees down, both of
Good.
them,
You
and
can't
it was
really
really
see
clear
it.
that we need to redesign the gardens. There's been a lot of clamor in the town for the trees as well, and so Gordon Hayward offered his services, donated them actually, to work with us to create a design, and this is the draft design. There are some parts of it that we're still rethinking. It is a 3-phase project. The first project we hope to start this spring, and that will involve excavating and grading the land in front of the library, you know, where the big tree was, where all the Solomon seal was. That has been, you know, that soil has really been depleted for years with that tree there. So that soil needs to be re-energized and a soil test done. We're going to reseed it just with lawn for a year to let it rest and also decide what we really want to do with that important part. Gordon made some suggestions based on what our needs were, but we're not quite there yet. The important things that are going to happen this spring, which is pretty exciting, in addition to that soil, we're going to plant 7 thornless, very important, thornless hawthorn trees.
Nice.
It's a beautiful tree, gets to be 18 inches. It has, everything we're doing is native as well. It has berries in the spring, flowering in the summer, gorgeous green leaves, and in the winter is beautiful bark. It gets to be, as I said, about 18 feet high, so it's not intrusive. And there, as you can see from the design, there'll be on either side of the library, one replacing where that big tree was. And in addition to that, we're creating more seating areas.
Yeah, that looks
So near those
great.
trees, there will be one on either side that is, we'll have a little patio, and then there'll be granite, those blocks, you know, that you can sit on, like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
So people can meet there, you can hang out there as well. Behind that seating area, they're going to be mountain laurels. He's recommended 5 on each side, which we think is too many because they get pretty big. But there will be mountain laurels, which are, I think, the variety he's
Over here.
recommending
Yeah.
is it's not dwarf, but it's small,
Oh,
much
here and
smaller.
here.
They're in 2 places,
Yeah,
on
yeah,
either side.
behind
Yeah,
each
right.
bench.
And in the front, we had originally thought we would have a wall, a stone wall, because it seems to be kind of the Putney aesthetic, you know, there's one in front of the town hall and the next stage, but the cost is really prohibitive. It's an awful lot of money, and there are issues as well. Kids climbing on it and falling off. And so we're going to have a sweet fern hedge, which I'm not really familiar with, but Gordon is very fond of them.
sweet fern, that's nice,
They're easy to maintain. They get to be about 3 feet high. That's pretty much what we're going to do in the first phase, we hope. We have an initial estimate of $5,000 to $6,000 for the soil renovation, the purchase and planting by a professional of the trees and the laurel. We're waiting for prices on the stone.
Okay.
Depending on how that comes in, we'll either do that, and how the project goes, we'll either do that this year or next year.
Okay.
Next year, we will definitely work on the center part once we have figured out. We wanted to do originally a pollinator garden, but decided with the bees and the wasps and the kids, it's probably not a good idea to have that, you know. So that's why we were thinking that area.
Okay.
Gordon then made a very ambitious proposal for the area bordering the parking lot near Yellow Barn to be a big native shrub and kind of another pollinator thing, but with
Sort of
some
fenced
wildflowers. But that's down the road because that's quite an expensive undertaking.
Okay.
So the important piece that you need to know is that the library trustees are funding this, partly from the endowment and partly from fundraising.
Okay.
We really think it's important that the community contribute to this, so we will be having a book sale and other fundraising events this year to help cover those costs. But we're in good shape we've already approved $10,000 for the first phase to cover what we will this summer.
All right.
So I'd like to bring good news, and I think people are pretty excited, and it should be fun. Get people thinking about beautifying the whole town, you
Yeah.
know, once they see
Yes.
this happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any
this is great.
questions?
When do
There
we,
is one
when do
thing
we get to
that's-
sit here?
No, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot more seating. Oh, and that cool part is that one of the benches is going to be made from the wood of the tree that was taken down. And if you haven't been in the library, you should go and see the table
Yeah.
that was made from the other tree. It's exquisite.
I've seen pictures, yeah.
Matt Brothers made it. It's really exquisite, 5-inch maple tree.
Nice.
So we're excited for all this beauty to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Karen's
for
been
you.
great.
I
She's
know,
so creative.
Yeah, I've been going to the meetings, they've had me involved and engaged, and, you know, she wanted the wall, I wanted the split rail fence, we got the hedge, compromise.
Well, Gordon is so fond of this hedge, but when he was a little kid, I guess they had him at a school and he used to like crawl around underneath them playing marbles.
Really?
And then they'd come in from school and they'd just be smelling
It's
all this
great.
beautiful
It's
sweet.
a great smell, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So basically, you're creating like an interior space there behind that front hedge.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, we will be. We'll be kind of more enclosed,
Yeah.
we're hoping, a container.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some fun ideas. The staff has some great ideas about it too, so. But I think having a year to like live with it will really help us feel how we want to use it. And we'll see what the community does with it, who knows, you know?
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
yeah, good.
Gets us all thinking about spring too.
Right, right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for bringing that in.
No, I'm happy to share it.
So the public wasn't really able to see this, but does anybody have any?
Oh, sorry.
So I'm gonna keep a copy here,
Yeah.
and they'll have one at the library.
Right, there's one at the library.
Because I can put this right on the wall.
Okay, yeah, do you have a smaller one that, or like a PDF version that we can put on the
No.
website? No? Okay.
I can ask Gordon.
Yeah, it'd be nice just to
Yeah.
have it on the website.
Yep.
So people can see
He
it.
does, there is one thing we're gonna change. He wanted us to have, one of Stephen Proctor's big tall pottery urns.
Oh, yeah.
We've nixed that, but it is on the design. It's too formal and also, you know, really dangerous.
To get kids
Too
stuck in here.
interesting.
Mr. Fairman?
Madam Chair, perhaps a question to the person who presented the plan. The vegetation you're planting that is near paved areas is going to be exposed to ice melting chemicals. Have you checked whether this vegetation that you're proposing to plant is tolerant of these chemicals?
Not only that, Howard, but Gordon and Emily Zervis, the librarian, went out and measured the snow piles this year, you know, after the snow blower came by and blew all the snow up to see how far in it went. Yeah, we're really aware of that, both for the driveway and the pathways. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments online? Any further discussion among the board? All right, moving on to VTrans annual financial plan.
So in your packet is the annual financial plan that we sign every year. I met with Megan Brook on Monday, and basically the numbers are taken out of the budget and then transferred onto this form. And so this is to allow us, if we have a storm, that at a certain threshold, the state would kick in, like 90% of storm damage, and the town would match 10%. Unless FEMA kicks in. So if FEMA kicks in, then it's 90% their way, and then the state kicks in 7%.
Okay.
So this is for funding in case of like storm emergencies. It also, we report, as you see on the front page, you know, we will be getting a structures grant, and also the paving grant is on here along with the $100,000 that's in our budget already. And bridges and culverts, $12,000, which is in our budget. So I put the state statute in here for you as well, because we are required to make sure we can cover a certain amount of, so it's $300 per mile that, you know, we need to cover.
At least.
Yes,
Yeah.
at least. To be eligible for aid
Okay.
under this.
So theoretically, we
title.
could say that we wanted to do 290 and then, but then we wouldn't be eligible for any aid
Right,
by the state.
right.
Okay.
So this is our annual. The other form in here is certification of compliance for town road and bridge standards in our network inventory. So again, every year, this is something that, you know, we go through and we do adopt, you know, the town road and bridge standards. So when we work on a particular road, you know, it has to be up to a certain standard. And in case of a storm, we gotta bring that road up to standard as well. So it cannot be, you know, just thrown together. It has to, and there's a whole orange book, VTrans orange book that we live by. And that form relates to that orange book.
Okay. So we need to approve both of these, right?
That
Do we
is
have to do
correct.
them separately?
No, you can probably, well,
Probably have to.
yeah, do them separately and then.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the annual financial plan for town highways for 2023?
So moved.
For a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the annual financial plan for town highways for 2023. Is there
2020.
2024, friendly
Right.
amendment 2024. Is there further discussion among the board? Any comments online? Any comments in the room? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, can I hear a motion to approve certificate? Why does it say 2019?
Because that's when we adopted our standards.
Okay,
I know,
it's okay.
last year I was like, wait a minute, is that right? And I went back and it is, that's when we last adopted that.
And, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so can I hear a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for town road and bridge standards and network inventory?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the certification of compliance for town roads and bridge standards and network inventory. Is there further discussion among the board? Any comments online? Any comments in the room? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
So we've done that. Okay, so our next piece is select board unfinished business. We have rules of procedure policy. No, I'm sorry. Did I miss something? No, I didn't. Rules of procedure policy review, comment and adoption. Did everybody have a chance to read through the changes that I proposed? Basically, I tried to meld in the hybrid toolkit, hybrid best practices from VLCT into our rules of procedure, because we're running hybrid meetings now, and I assume that we want to continue to do that. I also made it clear that, because it was not in our policy, that we annually elect a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk, and that the clerk will be responsible for taking minutes if needed and sign the approved minutes, and that the clerk shall act as chair for that meeting, for the meeting, if the chair and the vice chair are not here. So, comments?
Yeah, it had to do with the remote. Yeah, so
The remote starts on meetings, page 2.
whatever. It's not, under meetings, number 6, where it says 4,
or
but
6.
it's 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a typo there. Technical issues resulting in unreliable access will not automatically result in a continuance of a warned meeting. Do we mean like a discontinuance?
Continuance of a meeting is that you continue the meeting to a
Right.
time, place, and certain. So it basically means that we say, we're gonna stop the meeting right now, we're
Okay.
going to
So
reconvene.
continuance means the
It's a-
opposite of continue. In this case, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
Right.
I got it.
If that's not clear, we can change the language, it's not.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, to
No,
me,
it-
I
and I
read that
totally,
to mean that it, you know, that if we get disconnected, we're not necessarily going to stop the meeting.
that's the point, yes. But we can, so.
We can,
So it
but
says,
we're
yeah,
not
to continue the
necessarily-
meeting to, yeah. Yes, so if
Okay,
you wanna
we're not-
change that so that it's clearer?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what would you
Okay.
like to say?
Technical issues resulting in unreliable access will not automatically result in cancellation of the warned meeting.
And
Termination.
Termination of the warned meeting, you know. The body may elect to continue, however, the body may elect to continue at a different time. I think I got confused because continue was used twice in the same sentence, but they meant different things.
Or
Or
kind of meant the same thing, I think.
automatically result in a postponement.
Okay,
Yeah, postponement
okay,
of a warned meeting.
okay,
Does that make,
that,
yeah.
yeah, that works. Did you get that, Karen?
Yes.
Other parts of this?
That's the only thing.
Mind you, you can revise this at any time.
Right,
Just saying.
Yeah,
yeah,
but we don't want to,
I know, but, you know, somebody may like read into it and
Yeah.
it might have to be clarified again.
Right.
But just because you vote on it tonight doesn't mean
can't change.
you're right.
right. Okay, is there further discussion on the board? Is there comments in the room? Comments online, Mr. Fairman?
I do.
Oh wait, hold on, Mr. Fairman, sorry, I moved on too fast. Jeannette?
I do think that continuance is a well-accepted term for meetings and judicial procedures and everything, so it has a very specific meaning, and I don't know if postponing has the same
Right.
meaning as continuance.
Right, because continuance
So-
means you're continuing the same meeting at a time, date, and certain that you propose
Right.
at that meeting to continue your
Right.
meeting. Right, so,
Like, you're just
Yeah.
starting over, you're gonna continue that meeting.
Right, right,
that
right.
stopped.
right.
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 I just-
Okay, I can stand corrected in my legally, my, you know, I can be
But
schooled
it
in
needs to also be
legalese.
clear to
But
the
it's just
people
not
who
to clear, it's not clear to me as a lay, until now, a lay
Do
person.
you wanna put it in parentheses? We could say continuance and then we could say postponement.
It doesn't really matter.
Are you rescinding your suggestion?
I will rescind my
Okay.
suggestion.
All right. Did the language come from VLCT?
Some of it did, and some of it,
Yes.
yes, I mean,
Yes.
but then I also, I did some
You're right.
finagling, so I don't know if that was their language or
Right,
my
I can't
awkward
remember.
way of trying to
Right.
say the same thing.
Yep.
So
So there's no change at this point?
there's no change.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Fairman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I never thought about this before regarding the remote open meeting law, the question of continuance. I would take the liberty of suggesting that you perhaps look more carefully at this before another meeting, because I know that in the courts, continuance has a very specific meaning, which I believe is not what you're referring to here. So in terms of the public understanding what you're talking about, I was hoping to flip through the Vermont Open Meeting Law and find out what, if anything, they say about that, but I didn't have time. I wasn't expecting this to come up. Because it's very important that the public clearly understand exactly what's going on. We hear all the time from people who come to speak to you that they have trouble understanding the Vermont Open Meeting Law. That said, I, as you know, have a suggestion to modify your Rule F2, which states currently at the conclusion of discussion of each agenda item, but before any action is taken by the public body, there may be 10 minutes afforded for open public comment. Now, the Vermont Open Meeting Law states, I quote, "At an open meeting, the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to express its opinion on matters considered by the public body during the meeting." That's a 1 VSA section 312H. So I'm taking the liberty of suggesting that in Rule F2, you replace maybe 10 minutes with shall be 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to read the entire section. It's at an open meeting, the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to express its opinion on matters considered by the public body during the meeting, as long as order is maintained. Public comment shall be subject to reasonable rules established by the chairperson. So I read that to mean that public comment shall be subject to reasonable rules means that we can use the word may, because they are rules that we are using to establish procedures under that statute. I don't have a strong opinion about that, but this is also, we go through a lot of recommendations through VLCT, which is full of lawyers that practice municipal law, and they wrote this template. And I've had numerous conversations with them and in trainings about public comment in meetings. And one of the things that they stress is that this is not a meeting of the public. It is a meeting in public. And the public has the opportunity to watch us, and they have the opportunity, the reasonable opportunity to comment, but we are, at the end of the day, we are having a meeting in public. And we don't need to give the public full access and full equal say at the table. That's the reason for that statute. Peg?
I think the concern being suggested is addressed actually in the first point. That we're saying members of the public shall be afforded reasonable opportunity. So we're stating that in point number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I would feel super uncomfortable to say that we shall, because that kind of assumes that after every discussion there shall be 10 minutes of discussion by the public. And so that doesn't seem reasonable to me. I think we're hitting on. We're saying that there may be, and we're saying in the first point that there will be plenty of opportunities that we will make, that's a priority. So that's my read of that.
Okay. What does the rest of the select board think?
That sounds fair.
Yeah.
Well stated, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Fairman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, members of the Select Board. You have actually done exactly what I hoped you would do, which is to affirm that the public right to comment is in fact conditional on your granting that right. Now, we've now set the stage for, and I challenge you to do this, actually refuse to allow public comment on an agenda item when I shall pursue the matter in Vermont Superior Court at Newfane under the Vermont Open Meeting Law, because as you can tell, I clearly believe that the Vermont Open Meeting Law trumps anything that you or the Vermont or your consultants, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, can say on this subject. But I'm quite willing to file a test case. So at your convenience, please refuse to allow public comment on an agenda item, and we shall have the test case. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. All right, is there any other comment in the room? Is there any comment online? Mr. Fairman?
There is, Madam Chair, concerning another point. I just need to get my paper here, just a second, sorry. Okay, so during your regular introduction of Town of Putney Select Board Rules of Procedure for members of the public, you refer to what you're talking about right now. There actually is a constitutional rule of procedure for Town of Putney public officers that also should be equally enforced. Town of Putney public officers who are offended by and dismissive of factual public challenges by constituents should know that it's not personal, it's the First Amendment. In the recent instance, the public officer first chose self-identification that the constituent had made optional, then attacked the constituent. A veteran of the arena, such as I, doesn't care, but a new participant likely would be frightened away forever. Rules of procedure for Putney Select Board state in Rule F6, I quote, members of the public and members of the body and members of the public are prohibited from making personal, impertinent, threatening, or profane remarks. Robert's Rules of Order state in Section 43, paragraph 21, I quote, a member must avoid personalities and under no circumstances can he or she attack or question the motives of another member. The moment the chair hears such words as fraud, liar, lie, or quoting that public officer, bullshit, used about a member in debate, he or she must act immediately to correct the matter and prevent its repetition, unquote. You, as chairperson, are responsible for enforcing parliamentary decorum by and for all, always. Now, I know that your rules of procedure mention this, but I'm simply mentioning that your rules of procedure in that regard apply to everyone always, not to particular people at a particular time and place. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Fairman, I would like to apologize to you because I know exactly what you're talking about. And you're right, I did not shut that conversation down. It was a very hard conversation for all of us, and I was trying my best to maintain decorum. I clearly failed, and I will keep that in mind in the future. And if everybody else in the room can also keep that in mind, I would appreciate it. But you're absolutely right.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Fairman.
Then I simply would reiterate, I did not ask for an apology, but thank you. Your chairing of meetings is excellent, and it is very hard. I have been there and done that. I simply wish to bring the matter less to your attention, less to your estimable attention than to the public's attention, that this was actually an exception to the rule, what happened that evening. And in other words, nowadays we read in the news about in other towns things get out of hand, and they don't in Putney. And the reason is your superb chairing of meetings. And this was a difficult situation. It was, that's the way it was. But just so everyone knows, that was an exception, and we actually do it differently, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there other comments online on the, what are we doing? The Rules of Procedure Policy Review, Comment and Adoption. Okay, I think we've decided we're not making any changes, other than the ones that I proposed. Okay. All right, so can I hear a motion to approve the Rules of Procedure Policy Review, the rules of procedure.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the rules of procedure.
That was your agenda that I ended up with.
What?
That's your agenda.
I have my agenda. What are you doing to me?
I don't know where
Okay.
that one came from though.
Huh?
Sorry, it's Jeanette's. I thought it was yours.
Do you want it back? All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the rules of procedure policy. Is there further discussion among the board? Are there comments in the room? Is there further comments online? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next is the conflict of interest and ethical conduct policy for town officials. I would like to make one change to make it clear, because I checked with VLCT again today about what this conflict of interest and ethical conduct policy is supposed to cover. The statute is pretty broad. We are actually allowed to define who we want it to cover. And we made a decision last year or the year before to make sure that it covers our town-appointed committees as well. However, the language is a little vague. So I would like to make a proposal either that we change in the definitions, which says, for the purposes of this policy, the following definitions shall apply. To either change the definition of a public officer to include members of town committees, or to add or possibly change the word public officer to public officer / member of the body, so that it's perfectly clear that this policy applies to committees as well. I don't know which one is better, but
Can you say your first one again?
the first one would be to add under the public officer a G definition, which is the
Yeah.
definition for the purposes of this policy. It's not for other policies or state statute. Currently reads, means a person elected or statutorily appointed to perform executive, administrative, legislative, or quasi-judicial functions for the municipality. This term does not include municipal employees. So I'd like to add a person elected, either appointed, either appointed to committees, to make it really clear, or just appointed, to make it clear that it's not just statutorily appointed.
Mm-hmm.
So that might not be as good.
How about if we
Or we could
changed
add a definition of members.
under Article 3, this policy applies to all public officers and the public body.
And any
members.
public body
Yeah.
under, subject to open meeting law?
Yeah, yeah.
Does
So
that sound
then,
right? Okay, but I still think that we need to, because the issue is the public officer definition. It's what is the sticking point here? So, and all through this document, it says public officer, public officer,
okay.
public officer.
All right,
We
all
can
right.
change public officer, or we could just say public officer / member of the body.
okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Does that?
But I also think that
Yeah,
it should
you should
change
change that too, yeah.
in Article 3 as well.
Okay, so
because-
change.
So Article 3.
This policy applies to all individuals elected.
Why can't we just say public
Policies to
officer
all
and public
individuals-
body, members of the public body?
Subject
Because then the definition,
open meeting law. How about that?
can you read that again?
This policy applies to all individuals who are subject to open meeting law.
Who are subject.
Well, it's not individuals that are open to public
Members?
meeting law, all. All,
Official town committees.
What did you say?
Is it official town committees or boards?
To all members of official town committees or boards?
Because they are
All members
subject to the open meeting law.
Right.
of all
Of
town,
town boards,
Committees.
councils, commissions, committees.
all, yeah.
Boards, councils,
Boards, committees, and commissions.
boards, councils, commissions, and committees.
Councils, we don't have any councils.
Well, that's what it said the public body is, so. Okay, we don't have any councils
It does? Where does it say that?
under definition of public bodies.
See how much I've read this? Oh, there you are. Well, we may someday have councils, so let's just leave it in there.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so we want to say this policy applies to all members of all town committees, commissions, and boards, councils.
Official town ones, because you could have
All official.
You could have a town committee that's the garden committee
Right.
that has nothing to do with being appointed by the
All official.
board. It's just committees and that are appointed by the board that are subject to open meeting law.
Should we add subject to open meeting law to make it clear?
No, I wouldn't do that. I would just say official.
Okay, because basically my
appointed.
intent is to make it clear that this
Yeah.
conflict of, in the interest of transparency,
Yeah.
anything that's subject to open meeting law is also subject to this conflict of interest policy. That's my intent. So that works. Okay. So, but I do think that we want to change the word public officer in here, or the definition.
Public officer, as it shows up,
It shows up everywhere. Basically in the entire
Right.
document. So we have a definition of it. We could either add a definition of a member of the body and then do public officer / member of the body.
yes, I think that makes
Okay,
sense.
so let's make H be member,
G, right?
or GH, well, G1.
Oh, you're making a new
We're
one.
making a new one. Member of the body means a person appointed to a committee which is subject to open meeting law. Okay?
Any board, council, commission,
Yes,
you have to say all of
committee.
that, right?
Well, sure. Committee, commission, sure.
Or any group, you could say, open to meeting, public meeting law. I just don't want to get into this, well,
Yeah,
it's a
I know,
council,
I
but
know.
it's not.
Public officer, it's, yeah, okay. Committee, commission, same
Yeah, same
phrase, same
right.
language. So member of a body means a person appointed to a committee, commission, board, council, which is subject to open meeting law.
Yes,
Okay, and then anytime it says public officer, we want to amend that to / member of the body.
Member
So replace all.
of the body.
public.
And that makes it really clear that this is any body that we stand up here is subject to this policy. I feel that that's very important. Is there other discussion among the board? Have you had a chance to read this? We've gone through it a couple times now. Had it play out in front of us. Comments online, Mr. Furman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You're making your conflict of interest and ethical conduct policy contingent on being a person being subject to the Vermont open meeting law. which begs the question, what if the person is not subject to the Vermont open meeting law? What say you about that?
Like who?
Like, can you give an example?
I don't have to. You are saying that it is only the people who are subject to the Vermont open meeting law. And I, this is the sort of situation, the problem that arises when one is drafting legal language. And that is, if you don't ask, what about the other possibility? So if you're asserting that it is airtight, that no one could possibly be subject to the conflict of interest policy who is not subject to the Vermont open meeting law, I suspect that in due course you will encounter a situation where you claim the person is in conflict of interest, and the person says, actually, I'm not subject to the Vermont open meeting law. The obvious reason would be someone who is somehow appointed by the town of Putney but is not a member of a public body.
No, because we're including public officers.
Materially, it doesn't matter because we can remove people for no reason at all at any time if we have jurisdiction over them, which is really the only people that we're talking about here. So this is really more for our committees, boards, commissions, councils to all be on the same page regarding what a conflict of interest is and how they should conduct themselves in the course of doing business for the town, whether they are when they're on those committees. It's not really a legal document, other than that the state requires that we adopt one. So I hear what you're saying, but this is really more for educational purposes, informational purposes, for members of our committees to follow.
Madam Chair, may I continue a bit further?
Yes.
Thank you. I understand where you're coming from as well. Maybe it's something that will have to be adjudicated if and when situations arise. There's another area of this, though, that is somehow unclear in this, and that is at the special select board meeting on March 24th. I understood you to say that at that time we were speaking only about public officers, who, by the way, are defined in law, so you can't change that definition. We were speaking about public officers as being bound by the conflict of interest and ethical conduct policy. Now, I understood you to say at that time that the policy obligated these people only within meetings of the public body of which they are members. Did I understand you correctly?
A conflict of interest arises, and a violation may occur if there is a agenda item or a particular topic upon which a committee is working on that a person does not disclose a possible conflict of interest.
So you were speaking only of during meetings of that public officer's public body.
Yes.
Okay. I'm wondering about Article 5, prohibited conduct, because I'm going to raise each one because I feel this may be germane to the discussion. A is a public officer shall not participate in any official act or action if they have a conflict of interest, whether real or perceived, in the matter under consideration. Now, it seems to me that this could arise outside a meeting of that public body. Similarly, with B, a public officer shall not personally or through any member of their household, I'm going to skip over some here, get involved in any official act or action pending before that public body in which the public officer holds office. A public officer shall not accept gifts. or other offerings for personal gain by virtue of their public office that are not available to the public in general. That obviously can happen any time. D, a public officer will not request or accept any reward, gift, or favor for taking an official act or action, or advocating for or against an official act or action. Once again, can happen at any time.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
public
but those,
official-
can I,
a public-
go ahead, sorry.
Shall I continue, or did?
Well, I just wanted
No,
to,
I defer to you, but I'm not sure what we're doing here now.
okay, I'm sorry, but I just want to point out that this is not more than just a conflict of interest policy, it's also about ethical conduct, which is different.
Okay, all right. If I may just finish the other two, you've raised a very interesting point. Using resources not available to the public, I'm going to skip over that one. A public officer who is a member of a public body shall not give the impression that they have the authority to make decisions or take actions on behalf of that body. Now, what I'm raising here is whether, in fact, by limiting the effect of your conflict of interest policy to meetings of which a member of a public body or committee of which the person is a member is actually not obligating them to most of the to avoid most of the prohibited acts. Now, you raised the question about the difference between ethics and conflicts of interest. This is not to challenge you, but because it's an interesting discussion, would you care to state the difference?
A conflict of interest is a specific instance in which you may be acting in a official capacity to, at the moment, to further a gain that you have. An ethical conduct is any conduct that you may use in or outside of the meeting. For instance, accepting gifts because I'm the select board chair would be a violation of the ethical conduct policy, the ethical piece of that conduct. But it doesn't fall under conflict of interest because I just got a gift, but I accepted it because, you know, I was given it because I'm the chair, and I accepted it because I was given it because I was the chair. That would be in my mind unethical,
But not a conflict of
but not a conflict of interest. Now, if I subsequently went into a meeting and then voted in favor of somebody's project because they gave me a gift and didn't disclose that they gave me a gift, that would be a conflict of interest, and that would be a violation of the policy. Jeanette.
I just was going to say that the legislature spent 2 years doing a state code of ethics, which includes a separate section on conflict of interest. And the ethical portion of it is very similar to what this is. It's a lot longer and a lot more in detail,
yeah.
but it does. And you're absolutely right about your example there. And this, we spent 2 years getting this right, and it's very similar to this. So I think you're on good ground here with your code of ethics and then your conflict of interest, which is different.
Yeah, I was just going to say conflict of interest is a subset
Yes.
of ethical
Code of ethics.
Yeah.
right? You know, it's
I suppose if you're acting in an unethical manner and then you can pound the issue with violating the conflict of interest part, then you're in even deeper water than you would have been.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Fairman.
Not to interrupt, at your convenience, I would like to add something.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. You have once again led an excellent discussion of this complex issue. I simply now take the liberty of suggesting that you all consider, perhaps until another meeting, how to make explicit within this document what you have said. What you all have said is the distinction between a conflict of interest and unethical conduct, because it actually is not covered in here. And once again, I recall how often members of committees whom you have appointed have said, we really need some clarification as to exactly what our responsibilities are, because we simply do not understand. So it could be useful to elucidate the distinction that you were drawing, which quite possibly is a valid distinction. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it, but I am saying that as the policy is currently written, does not draw this distinction. This distinction. Thank you.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't think it's clear enough, basically, and that's fair. So I don't. Yeah, I mean, we can refine this
Right.
as we go along. As we discovered the other day, a violation doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be kicked off a committee or a commission. It's just an acknowledgement that something happened and let's not do that again kind of thing. And it's really more of an individual awareness of the offices and positions that we hold, and a real desire to make sure that everyone understands that everyone needs to be above board when we conduct these meetings. They're subject to open meeting law. We need to follow that as best we can. And even if there's no public in your meeting, you need to follow these rules, because the town is counting on you to be transparent and above board and working for all of the people in the town, not just a select few. That's the real reason for these. So, does the board want to table this and look at it for a while, or do we want to?
I would propose that we accept this and add it to our list of many things to do. Add it to the back.
To clarify?
To me, it's
Okay.
not like the top priority
Yeah.
of many of the things we have to do, but I think it's a worthy thing to do if we have time.
Okay, all right.
That's where I would go with it.
So we want to adopt this with the changes that we've made so far and call it a work in progress?
Yeah, I feel
Does
like
that
we've
sound-
tabled it a few times now, and we can just get it done.
Okay. Jeanette?
Could I just make a comment that I think would clarify everything? If you had the code of ethics first, and then you had a section on conflict of interest, because the way it's written is that recusal is
Kind of a-
actually after the code of ethics.
Yeah.
But the recusal has nothing to do with the code of ethics. It only has to do with conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So if you just adopted what you've written and reorganized it, it would clarify.
The more that we're talking about all this, I can see where the public is getting confused. So that's the problem with just reading something and going, yeah, I understand it. I don't understand why you don't understand it. So that's good. That's good feedback. So I think the will of the board is that we want to adopt this right now, and we'll work on it as we can to make it more clear. Is that true?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so can I hear a motion to adopt the conflict of interest and ethical conduct policy for boards, committees, appointed and elected officials with the changes that we've noted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the conflict of interest and ethical conduct policy for boards, committees, appointed and elected officials with the changes we noted. Is there further discussion among the board? Is there further comment online? Any comment in the room? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. It is 7:15. I've missed my 7 o'clock deadline. Yes. Do you want to?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I was not knowing precisely how long we still have to go here. If it's going to be a while, I move that we have our
You want to have a break?
sometimes observed 5 minutes.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask you if you wanted to have a break. Okay. So does everybody else feel like that's a good idea? All right. So it's exactly 7:15. So we'll come back at 7:20. Okay, we're back at 7:21. And we are on the 2023 State Hazard Mitigation Plan Update questions.
So I brought this to the board's attention in the
Yeah.
last meeting, and Conservation Commission looked at the questions.
Okay.
So in your packet are their comments. And I didn't know if this board had any comments you wanted to add, or it's due by April 28th. So we still have
we
one
still have
more
some time.
meeting. And Eileen, in front of you is the actual printed version of the state hazard mitigation plan
Okay.
in color.
It is in color.
So
Whew.
the planning commission is fairly busy right now with the town plan amendment.
Yeah.
But the conservation did add their comments.
Okay, so they. What were the questions in the flyer?
It had to do with population.
There's 6 questions on the flyer. Can you read them okay?
Wow. Okay.
So this is something that you can't just answer. You're gonna have to have conversations.
Well, why don't we? Yeah, I mean,
think
this
the
is.
emergency management director too
Yeah.
should have a weigh-in on these questions, and potentially the highway foreman.
I do feel, well, okay, then maybe can we forward them to them and have them weigh in on their, because I think a lot, these questions we do have a hazard mitigation
We
plan.
do, yes.
So I understand that the states is different, but we've already gone through this process, so I would think especially they would have solid answers to these questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I can guess, but I think they would definitely be better to have somebody who has already written the hazard mitigation plan and updated it several times would have better answers.
And who has done that?
That would be Tom Goddard and Brian Harlow, right?
Yeah, they have input, but mostly the Conservation Commission
Yeah.
worked on it with me. And
Okay.
so, there's goals.
And I remember there was some input among other
Right.
committees and commissions and boards, but
Right. And after the 2021 July storm,
yeah.
these questions come into play as well.
This question, what have you already done to prepare for significant weather events? And we've done things, but I can't list them off the top of my head.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that I will reach out to the fire chief
Okay.
and to our road foreman.
And you have some feedback from Conservation Commission.
I do,
And we have our hazard mitigation plan.
we do.
So all of those things together, would they inform that? How hard would it be to answer those questions with all of those things?
Probably not that difficult. And do you want me to bring them back to the board on the 19th, or would you not want?
I mean, what this says is, please
Input.
discuss the questions below with the town, city, select board members, staff, and/or residents. For example, a 10-minute discussion during a select board meeting. Then designate one person to share your responses using this link. Which is quite a lot of work
Right.
they're asking. I mean, do we,
It's fine, I'll get the chief and,
Okay. I mean, could
The
we,
reason why I think I would love to hear what you come up with, not that I feel like I have anything to add to it,
right,
but I think it would be, I would just like to
Educational.
hear, educational for me to hear the
Right.
answer to those questions.
so our town local hazard mitigation plan is on our website, so anyone can look at it. I tend not to, make copies, but, because it's in color as well. Not as big as the states, but it's a lot smaller.
it's pretty long.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah,
comprehensive.
yeah,
Right, and so the questions they're asking is just a subset of the questions that the plan is addressing,
right,
right? I just would be curious about this
Okay.
subset of questions, and I can go to the plan if I want to go to it and dive in, but
yeah,
I'd be curious.
okay.
What?
Then I will get some answers
Okay.
and bring them back to the board,
Okay, that sounds good.
okay?
I don't want it to be a ton of work for you, just a little bit of work.
It's not gonna be work for me. No. I'm sure Tom Goddard, as the emergency management director, can easily answer these questions.
Okay.
So,
They're excellent questions, it's
Right.
just, we just need to find the right person to answer them.
right.
Okay. Is there further discussion among the board on this? Is there comment online? Okay, hearing none, let's go on to the, right, the WSESD Independent Budget Review Committee nominations. Have we gotten anybody?
I thought it was somebody from the select board.
You did.
Joking.
Like, what gave you that impression?
No.
Okay.
We didn't really advertise it, so
All right.
honestly, I think the school district, one, should have put a notice out way before.
Well, I'm
Our
sure there,
meeting.
yeah.
I'm sure we're all busy.
as well.
Yeah, we get that, but, if they're looking for a representative to be on this board, I think it's probably wise to solicit.
Did it ever go out, we don't know if it went out to the school. Maybe it would be, maybe it's something to reach out to the
The
leadership
leadership,
council.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ruby.
yeah, go back to Ruby. I mean,
Well,
I know
she's our representative
she's
for the
working on
town,
it. I know
so-
she's working on it, but she was
Yeah.
hoping that we could come up with some
All right,
names as well. But,
okay.
and I know I gave her a couple, but either they didn't pan out or, I mean, I didn't reach out to them. She said she was gonna reach out to them. I don't know where she fell with that.
So, do you, as the chair, want to respond to this email?
To Kelly's?
Yes. And just let them know that we're working on it, and we're gonna
I
see.
feel like I already did that, but yes, I can
Right,
follow up.
right.
I will try, I'll try to.
And maybe
follow up,
they already
yeah.
have someone, and it'll be,
Why don't I follow up with Ruby, find out if
Okay.
she's working on somebody or not. And then go from there.
all right.
All right.
So, I won't ask the board if there's someone here.
Okay. Comments online, Mr. Fairman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I took a look at the email that you folks got that was in your packet. It's posted online. And reading it, if I were thinking about, do I want to volunteer for this? I'm not saying I'm considering doing so, but just, hypothetically, I would ask myself, what is an independent budget review committee supposed to do? So that would be the question that I would ask to the person who sent the email, that maybe you'd like to clarify a bit more as to what you want, what you want this committee to do, so that people would know, A, whether they want to serve on it, and B, whether they would be a good fit. And from the point of view of if the select board were appointing someone, who would you appoint based on the first 2 points that I mentioned? It just is unclear. An independent budget review committee, without any further explanation, as many people as are hearing this phrase probably have that many ideas of what it means. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I can do that. So other comments online? Any other discussion among the board? All right, so I'll follow up with Ruby and get a clarification about what the, what they're looking for. Okay, so next thing is other business, closing comments, and SB addenda. We have under here scheduling a select board work session. So Nate, I don't know if you know what we're talking about. Basically, it'd be like an off select board, regular select board day where we all get together and we work on the things that are on the back of that of this right here, all of these.
Not
so,
all at once, so.
Not all at once, but it'd be a chance to say, like, hash out the appointment procedure,
Social agency
policy, which
Okay.
we promised we were gonna do. The other things that, come up. So, so to that end, usually you've been sending out a doodle poll, which seems to have worked before.
I can do that,
Okay.
because I know the planning commission is gonna be having,
Yeah, I guess you need to work around that.
yeah, they're doing like 4 meetings a month,
Yeah.
plus their regular meetings, so. And the work, well, the task forces don't matter
No,
as much, but,
no.
well, they do if you're on a task force. So I take that back.
Well, that's why if you send out a doodle poll, we'll figure it all out,
Yeah.
right?
Let's see if we can come up with a date where we can all come.
Wednesdays are pretty good though for the select board, is that right?
Yes,
Yes.
both for me, yeah. All of the Wednesdays, except that I already promised that the 26th I would not have a meeting because
Okay,
I have to cover for somebody else, carpooling. So that's the only day I can't do it. But in general, yes. Sorry.
okay.
Or I can not be here and you guys can hash it all out. It's fine with me.
If we do a work session, we should define what that work session is gonna be.
Mhm. Like what we're gonna work on.
Yeah.
Well, I think appointment procedure has come up several times, and the social agency policy, and that might be it. We maybe add something as a wish list. What else?
The animal
Keeps coming
control policy, or ordinance, excuse me, should be a priority as well.
All right, well, let's put that
But
in
not,
as,
it can be third.
all right, let's put that as third as a runner-up if we get through the other two.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Does
That
sound
sounds good because, yeah, it's, and, yeah, yes.
We'll schedule another one at some other time. We'll keep working on the other stuff.
I want to add too that I've had somebody approach me about assisting with writing policies.
Oh, okay. That'd be
Because they
nice.
have experience and they have time.
Okay,
So I may take that person
Works.
up
works for me.
and maybe we can get through some things a lot faster,
Okay,
okay?
yeah,
But if we have another set of eyes
Mhm.
and then the draft can go to you.
yeah,
And then if you want to make changes, we can make them.
that'd be great.
But I think that might work a little better. Maybe
Be
it'll
great.
be a faster process.
Okay. Okay, so you're gonna send out a doodle
Yes.
poll, and, we've decided on the 3 topics we're planning on working on. Everybody good with that?
One more time, It's appointment procedure, social agency, appropriation.
Social agency appropriation and the appointment policy procedure,
Yeah.
I see.
which I did write a very, 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 very rough draft of.
It's okay.
So, and, and the blight, no, I'm sorry, the animal control ordinances,
Right.
the third one.
That's another thing, because we do have a draft blight policy in progress. So policies can be approved and adopted by the select board.
Mhm.
Ordinances, on the other hand, require public hearing
Yeah,
in the community.
right.
So that is a longer process for an ordinance.
Well, do we want to add the blight ordinance as a fourth, in case we get through the other two?
I think the blight is a policy, but it may. need
Oh, it's,
to be-
okay.
it
It
may
says
need to-
policy here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Karen, you said that John was taking a look at
Yeah.
that, because I haven't seen anything.
right. I have it on my desk right now.
Okay,
So, but he has incorporated all your comments. So those are in the
Okay.
second draft,
okay.
and then all I gotta do is roll it out to this
Okay.
group
I
and,
mean, if it's really just reviewing it, as a minor thing, then we can, maybe work on it in a work session, then bring it out to the public. Because, the public is obviously welcome to our work sessions, but
yes.
but not, historically, not as many people have shown up, so.
Right.
So maybe just, it's up to you. That sounds a
yeah.
little ambitious to me,
Right.
but,
We're just gonna have to prioritize.
So let's-
There's way too many
right,
that haven't been updated
yeah,
in years, and
We'll
this is part of
we'll
what
just keep-
select board does.
Right.
It's policies and change.
yep. Okay, so we'll just
So-
put them on the list and work them through factory line style, I guess, and we'll get done when we get done.
Right.
Okay. Comments online, Mr. Furman? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To add a bit of clarification to some matters we were discussing earlier, I quite understand that you folks, when you are working with a document that is drafted by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, that, as you said, they have a staff of lawyers who practice municipal law. So I should mention publicly that I'm actually preparing to challenge VLCT publicly at the state level about the relationship between their rules of procedure, the open meeting law, and standard parliamentary procedure, because their rules of procedure have in my view, how can I put it, a very specific orientation. And so what I was doing in discussing it with you folks was getting some insight into how select persons look at it. Now, I promise you that in addressing the issue at a higher level, I will not mention you because I've simply had a discussion with you here to get some insight into how you and people like you view these issues, which I shall incorporate, but I will not in any way make you cases in point when I pursue this further, which will be as soon as I can get there, which is to some extent a movable target. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I guess that segues us into closing comments and other business. Does anybody online have closing comments or other business? Does the select board have any closing comments or other business?
Apologies, Madam Chair. I thought that was the item we were on. I wasn't keeping track.
It wasn't, but that's okay. It's other business, so we're good. So no more comments online. Can I, wait, so before we, do we need executive session? We don't need executive
No.
session, okay. Our next meeting date is April 19th, 2023, at the town hall and on Zoom. Can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, everyone.